And welcome to the Customer Acquisition Show, where we talk about anything remotely related to helping you acquire customers and increase their lifetime value. Today is our Black Friday episode. So if you're watching this, it's live on Black Friday, except we're not really live. We pre-recorded this because our team is either in a turkey coma or actually working on our customers' ad accounts. But today we are joined by our CEO and co-founder, Ralph Burns, and our VP of Operations, and probably one of the longest tenured members of our team, Angela Ponsford. And I am Tom Meredith, your host, the VP of Marketing. Welcome to the Customer Acquisition Show.
Hello, my first time on
this show, here. But yeah, you've been
Yes.
a long-time guest of Perpetual Traffic.
Yes, but first time on this one. I like the setup. It's cool.
Yeah,
I love it. I love the intro music.
Daniel nailed it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe there's a goal there that we could have intro music played by the team, get the Tier 11 band together and record an original song.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Next meetup.
There's enough songwriter, guitarists, musicians, and that crew. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We need a Black Friday playlist.
Oh. You set one up on Spotify.
Yeah, maybe we'll
put that. Tier 11 got a Spotify account?
No,
we
not
should.
Yet. We're on every other platform. We may as well add it into that.
We probably should, yeah.
Get some of Ralph's favorites on there.
Yeah, well, yeah, they might turn off the target audience for Tier 11 if we put my playlist up there.
Yeah, Highway to Hell, ready for Black Friday.
Absolutely. That's it.
Yeah, so this show today is really just talking about like what people should be doing on Black Friday, either creative, media buyer, even brand owners, or So I guess starting off, like, what do you listen to when you're media buying or working on Black Friday?
Ooh, well, what real songs or just actually trying to get focused songs?
Well, I guess more generally, like everybody's kind of has their own routine working. What's yours, Ange?
Working. I thought you were still on the Spotify playlist.
Well, we're going to add it. Don't worry.
Work in progress already.
Totally. So what? Sorry, let me understand the question. Are you saying what do I listen to in terms of what I'm going to be doing for Black Friday? Like, do you want some advice?
Yeah.
Listen to us, the show, because we're probably the only ones streaming live.
Maybe.
There's so much information out there for Black Friday, isn't there? There's lots and lots of people giving advice, and it's overwhelming if you're in the thick of it. If you're a brand, if you're running campaigns, if you've been doing the setup, it's the busiest time of the year. I think anybody that's watching this is probably right in the thick of it right now. So I guess sending you good vibes out. In the ad accounts, there's lots going on. Day one, so this is Black Friday. Day one, some people might have started on the Thursday, but generally that's not the best idea and from our experience, because people are too busy getting into turkey comas. So day one, Black Friday, it's all about just having your eyes on that account and making sure, I would say the biggest thing is that things are working, because we've certainly had our fair share of times where landing pages haven't been flipped over at midnight with the special deal, so they don't have the special deal on there, or the page just doesn't exist, or something's broken from the ads. So I'd say day one, the big focus is make sure things actually work and that people can get to your checkout, people can check out, and they can actually do what you're asking them to do from the ads. Big thing on day one.
How often are you checking, like, throughout Black Friday to make it continually work?
Do you want best practice for what you should do if you want to survive and have a good life as a human, or do you want the
real answer,
the reality? I know I've been there. I mean, and caveating, I'm in Australia, so I am not in a turkey coma because we don't celebrate Thanksgiving. So there are benefits to having an international team when some of the team are not actually, celebrating that holiday. I've every hour, to be honest, when I've been running ads on Black Friday, there's a good chance, certainly for a good portion of the day, I'm just in there, just checking double checking that things are working. Again, that's not an expectation. It's not really best practice. I'd say certainly when you're first coming on, on to check the ads in the morning, making sure everything's working. And I'd say for those first couple of hours, I'm in there like quite often.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's just, if you care about what you're doing, which I know anybody, everyone on our team is so diligent and they actually care, they want to care, they care what the clients get. And I know anybody that's watching this, that if you're running ads for someone, you care about it. So you are going to be in there more than you probably should. It's just checking, because budgets are often so high. It's this, a lot of Black Friday is about how much mental capacity you have to watch that spend rack up and just kind of hold the line. A lot of it's, it's very, very mental. It's very in the brain, Black Friday. You don't have to get super fancy with what you're doing in the ad accounts, but you have to have the mental strength to hold the line, so to speak, when things might not look so great early on.
How do you, in these longer attribution windows now, like how do you increase that mental fortitude? Like how do you talk to your team or your client and be like, or even check to see that you're doing a good job or the ads are doing a good job?
I mean, it's this, what is the source of truth? Like, if making sure that you've got access to where the actual sales are made, that's the best way. Like if it's an e-commerce store, get access to the Shopify account, make sure you've got the Shopify account open wherever the sales are coming through, so that then you can cross-check. That's the best way, and that's the easiest way. And then you're not worrying about third-party attribution tools or trying to figure things out from the Facebook platform. Now, obviously, if you've got an understanding of what it normally looks like, what's the normal drop off that you would see Facebook compared to the source of truth. Like, I'm kind of assuming that most people would know that anyway. They know what they kind of generally expect to see in the ad account, and then how that translates into the actual results. But the best thing is to have that source of truth open.
Yeah.
Make sure
alongside the ads manager, right?
Alongside, absolutely. Yep. So you're looking at the ads, and then you're looking at making sure that those sales are actually happening.
I got a question for you, Ange. I remember the first 2 Black Fridays I ever did when I was an affiliate. This is going back like 15 years now. And I remember the first Black Friday I was spending hundreds of dollars a day. And then all of a sudden now I'm spending thousands of dollars a day. And then the second Black Friday, because I knew now what worked for the same, I had the same offers. I was spending, instead of thousands a day, which then became the new norm, I was now spending tens of thousands of dollars a day, if not many, many tens of thousands. I don't think I ever spent $100,000 in one day, but I came close. And it was constant paranoia, fear, wondering if in this case, like as an affiliate, I was going to get paid. I was constantly I think we had like AOL Messenger back then instead of Slack. I'm AOL Messenger. Yeah, I'm showing my age totally. There wasn't such a thing as Slack. But, I'm like getting my affiliate manager, like the president of the affiliate hub, because I was a super affiliate, like making sure he's online. I'm like, how do the sales look? I remember just being super fearful and excited all at the same time. But that's a huge leap in just mindset, going from hundreds a day to thousands a day, or maybe multiple hundreds a day. And then an even bigger leap, thousands to tens of thousands. How do you advise clients about that? And not even that, but media buyers, because they might be doing something they've never done before either.
Yeah. And honestly, that's probably one of the biggest things that we talk about with Black Friday. It is the mindset, because you don't want to you shouldn't ever complicate your ad account, but certainly not on Black Friday. It's really keeping it simple. In terms of the mindset, it's making sure that a big thing is if you've got someone else that you can just ask for help on the day. So like if you can buddy up with someone, like, okay, I'm going to be watching this, and making sure that you're asking for help and not making rash decisions. So I'm trying to think of some of the specific advice that I've given to some people in the past. It's really just double checking everything before it goes live. So, making sure that you're set up well in advance, which, by this stage, it's already Black Friday. So hopefully that's been done in advance. You've double checked all your budgets, you double checked what's going to go live. And then it's having that very, very clear, just being very clear on what the goals are, what you're looking to achieve. And hopefully of having had some conversation with your client around where's their comfort zone, because what you don't want on the day, hopefully nobody's going through this right now, where you've set budgets live and you haven't had that conversation with the client around, well, okay, it's going to take, we anticipate, the initial results are going to be here, but we would then expect them to go up to here, and then the client's like, okay, I'm okay with an X amount of money at a lower return for while we're still waiting for those initial results to come in. It's you having a clear understanding of what the goals are, what the KPIs you're looking to achieve, where that comfort level is for your client, but being bold, tempering all of that with a boldness and an understanding that what you've got set up is going to work, and making sure that I think one of the big things is if you're not getting initial sales coming in, not being too panicky to switch things off on day one. That's like getting through half a day, seeing where you're at, and then making those ability to make those quick decisions in the moment, and those quick decisions not being rash, being able to kind of sit with it, make the decisions, tag a friend if you can, just like, was it Millionaire? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Call a friend.
Yeah.
Call a friend. And if you've got a simple setup, it's super easy just to share with someone, hey, this is what I've got set up. This is what I normally see. Let's brainstorm it. That's one of the big things with that mindset, is just having someone that you trust. Someone you'll I will caveat that you have to be aware that hopefully they've got the same mindset as you, and they're not being too in the moment panicky. That's the biggest thing. The minute you panic on Black Friday, the minute you start making rash decisions and switching things off that are working, or switching things off before you've given them enough leeway to run.
Yeah, I think that's sound advice.
Yeah, it's a really hard it's a really hard one to explain to people until you've actually been in it. It's why I think, at Tier 11, there's always, particularly, we've got quite a few of our team is in Australia, and it not being on holiday there, it's actually it's been very useful for our team to be able to call on those people that are not they're not right in the thick of it, but they're still running things and they're still available, and they're just kind of getting on with their general day to day, and just having someone like that you can call on for backup, because it's scary. It's scary for people that sometimes have never spent anywhere close to this amount of money.
Yeah. Well, I think that's sound advice, because I remember us having a conversation way back, but it still is relevant today. If things aren't working, you don't have to turn it off right now. You can actually look and fact find, maybe call a friend, not panic. People sometimes see, okay, here's a campaign or an ad set that's spending thousands of dollars. I don't have any conversions. Well, instead of shutting it off right then and there, panicking, actually taking the time to do some troubleshooting. Like, you don't have to turn it off as you see it. And I think that's one of those just rash decisions people make, and then they regret doing it because maybe it is actually creating lots of conversions. You just hadn't seen it yet. There was a delay, something going on. So I think it's sound advice for anybody who's running traffic right now, because it is intimidating. You're probably running more than you ever have in the past, but I think you have to start thinking, all right, this is the time when I am acquiring new customers. I mean, I am selling my existing customers, absolutely. But like, the whole idea behind this is customer acquisition so that you can sell them again later in the future. And actually had this conversation with my neighbor who runs an e-commerce store yesterday or the day before, and she can't do any more than like a 25% discount because of her margins. Like, it's a 3-to-1. But I'm like, well, even if you're breaking even on it, you're still acquiring customers, and they're going to buy again from you in January, February, Christmas, potentially, like all that. So you have to think longer term, because it is scary, and they're doubling their ad spend from what they did last year. So it's like thinking about it that way. I am investing in the future of my business today. But second to that, don't panic. Look around, look at your funnel. Like that's one of the things that we always talk about, like test the entire funnel, make sure everything's working, make sure your coupon code is working, like actually test this stuff out. So making sure that all that stuff is working would be the first thing. Phoning a friend, looking into the campaigns, knowing there's some kind of delay, but don't make rash decisions. You don't have to shut it off right now. You can do it in 20 minutes or a half hour after you sort of get your wits about you. And that is, I think that's sound advice.
Yeah, you're right. Those are conversations we've had so many times, and because people, that's that instant. That's that when that panic mode is really not good. It's like, oh, this has spent too much, no sales. Boom, switch it off, and then you actually look in a little bit further, and you're like, okay, the metrics are actually within what we would expect them to be, or there was this issue over here which I've now fixed, but you've switched it off. Now, yes, you can switch it back on, and according to Meta, that if it's within a certain time period, it shouldn't have that much of an effect on performance. But it's that thing. Yeah, even a half an hour wait is often like it's not going to spend that much more. I mean, unless you're spending absolutely ridiculous amounts, huge amounts of money, then half an hour could make a difference. But generally, half an hour, it's going to be okay, and it saves you that on and off, and then that even creates more panic. The more you do stuff like that, you start getting into those heightened levels of mindset of oh no, it's not working, and then that's not a good place to be as a media buyer on Black Friday.
Absolutely.
It's that need for control, right? Like thinking that we can affect these things, and it's really not the case, especially as Meta and these other platforms get better and better at finding your customers for you, but being slower on the attributions, like kind of just guiding the ship and hoping you don't hit iceberg.
Yeah, definitely. Changes. And I mean, it's going to be different this year from last year as well. It's challenging for media buyer, for people that are looking at in accounts and trying to make decisions that compared with the last 2 years when it was still, we were still in that COVID phase where things were just different, and the world's in a different place right now. And this is going to be different, I think, from lots of other previous ones. So it's everything's changing all the time. But yeah, it's still going to be a good one. I have a sense. I mean, I know I've got my list sitting here at my desk of what I want to be buying on Black Friday. Because even though we don't, it's not really an Australian event, we have adopted it, like a lot of the world. Like, I get a good bargain,
right?
Deals to be had for sure.
Yes.
Did you get very many like pre-Black Friday sales?
I've seen quite a few
this year.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few coming through. So but I think that's been a trend that's been ongoing for a few years now, that pre-Black Friday. So I'm trying to, it's hard to recall back. I don't know that it's that much different from previous years on those pre-sales. I think we're still going to see those, it's still going to be a big weekend, obviously. People are waiting to buy, Christmas gifts, and, everybody's in the thick of it right now buying things. So yeah, but it's still going to be, I think it's just going to be different just because there's so much going on in the world as well. And people are just thinking about where they're putting their money these days, which again, challenging for paid traffic, but people are still buying things.
Is with Black Friday extending like earlier, do you also think it'll extend later? And is there some comfort for people who maybe didn't see as much success on Black Friday?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing after Black Friday, I guess, is shipping times and Christmas. That's really the big factor. So it's how much runway do you have after Black Friday to Christmas, depending on what you sell and how long it takes to get there. Particularly for, I would say, for a lot of, if you're advertising outside of the US, I mean, certainly I know in Australia, the shipping is probably slowest in the Western world, I would imagine. So, there's a lot more considerations there. We don't quite have the same Amazon experiences you have in the US, and people are really going to have to think about that afterwards. I think, having that bit more, because it is quite early Thanksgiving this year, isn't it? It feels like it's you've still got that little bit. Yeah, I mean, I think that's only a good thing, really, for everybody that's running paid traffic, because we all know the sale hangover is real. It's a real thing. Anytime you run a sale, you generally see lower sales for, can be anything up to a month afterwards, depending on how big the sale was. So there's definitely going to be a little bit of a sale hangover. That always happens after Black Friday. So as long as people are, again, mentally prepared for that, I know that's a big challenge when you're a business owner and you see your sales drop down that week after Black Friday, and you start giving your media buyers hell. If you're a business owner listening, don't give your media buyers hell. It's sale hangover. We expect it. But yeah, having that little bit more time before Christmas, that I'd say that's only a good thing, really, because it still gives people a chance to sell and to buy and to be confident that they can get it before Christmas. Because that's what's, really, it's Black Friday, and then it's like, okay, what do I need for Christmas that I didn't get in the sales?
Right. Have you come up with any strong tactics for fighting that sales hangover? A little bit of hair of the dog for Black Friday sales?
No, I honestly, it's just you have to, as long as you're factoring that into what you need to make. I mean, I think that's probably a big thing for a lot of business owners, is they maybe don't want to acknowledge that those sales hangovers are real, but they are very much real. And what are you going to do? You're going to give them another sale to hair of the dog? Probably not, because then you're stuck in perpetual discounting. It's making sure that you're factoring in the seasonality. I guess it's a micro version of seasonality for online advertisers, that if you have a sale, people are not going to buy the week after the sale, probably, if they knew you had a sale. Yeah, it's a tough one. And I mean, it's no different. It isn't any different. I know that business owners do look at it differently, but it's really no different to a business. So like Spirit Halloween, what is it they make? All of their money in whatever short time period, ridiculous amount of money, and then there's nothing for the rest of the year. It's not much different to that. It's like, we know it happens. We see it happen every time someone runs a sale. It always happens. So just knowing that that's going to happen and making sure that you factor in enough profit in the good times.
How often do our customers do any sort of pre-Christmas sale after Black Friday? Do they do any sort of add-on?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think.
And obviously you have to sort of stop at a certain date, depending on what the shipping times are, if it's a physical product, digital product.
Yeah.
Is that potentially a good way to, I wouldn't say mitigate or eliminate, but maybe just mitigate, a post Black Friday, Cyber Monday hangover?
Yeah. I don't recall that many that we've worked with have actually put in sales in that period, because obviously then they're waiting for, in Boxing Day. You guys know about Boxing Day in the US now. It's become more of a common term. Yeah. Obviously very big in the UK. That's the next thing. People then, yes, of course they have to get stuff for Christmas, because you can give gifts to people on Boxing Day, but it's not really social etiquette for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I just don't see anyone on Christmas Day. Joking. But yeah, people are waiting for that Boxing Day sale. People are waiting for the post-Christmas sales. So if you don't want to get your business into perpetual discounting, then let people pay full price before Christmas. People will, because there's that urgency there, especially if you're not super organized and get gifts in advance. People are gonna, everybody's always price shopping, but aside from that, people are going to pay the money for your product prior to Christmas. It's a bit of alliteration there.
I think shipping times. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, you're also building up huge audiences in all your ads.
Yep.
Today, whatever you did this past week, and some people have been starting like their Black Friday, Cyber Monday, like days and sometimes weeks in advance.
Absolutely.
Building up audiences and their video view audiences, their lead audiences, the early bird, lists, all that sort of stuff. But now you think about another way to think about like your investment over the course of this weekend is the fact that you are creating massive retargeting audiences for new potential customers, not all of whom are going to buy. And you certainly want to retarget them as a last chance kind of ad, whenever your Black Friday, Cyber Monday ends. I have to assume, let's just assume for the sake of argument, it's midnight on Monday, Eastern time or whatever it happens to be. All right. So you're going to be doing your last chance ads alongside your Black Friday ads on those retargeting audiences. Because you've built it up through the past week or so. You're throwing everything you can, try and squeeze every last dollar out. But then again, like even after Cyber Monday, you still have those audiences, and those are warm audiences. You need to target them as well. Maybe with full price they were thinking about, and now, hey, it's maybe not the 60% discount or the 40% discount, but maybe it's everything in the store 20% off over $100 in value, something like that. Think about that, because you do have those audiences still. Don't ever think that you've exhausted them completely on Cyber Monday and like, I'm done with them. Well, use them for the next month as much as you can, and I think that's something that people tend to forget about. And you've already paid for that traffic anyway. You've targeted it once, with a discount, target them again. There's going to be other people there because those audiences, and do it quickly too. I wouldn't waste time because, that's a zero moment of truth. Like, time is of the essence with those types of audiences. And I think retailers and e-com folks tend to forget that. They're like, oh, I'm done. Well, your work really isn't done. You still have massive, like, especially if you're 10xing your spend, you've got a lot more to do after Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Yeah, we have had quite a few. It's quite common like that, as you said there, the last chance offer after Cyber Monday. So maybe like the Tuesday or the Wednesday. I've seen that quite often where people are offering, like you said, just like a blanket. It's maybe a smaller discount, but it's across the whole store. If you were only offering it on certain products, things like that, absolutely, you can do that just to try and get them in, as a customer. And then like you've got these massive. Well, I mean, if you've got email, if you've been collecting emails, depending on what your offer was, if you had some kind of page where you had to put email in first, then you've got email marketing, like start, make sure you're nurturing there from the get-go, even if they didn't buy. You've got to keep them engaged, because you've still got Christmas, and then you've still got Christmas sales after that. So it's such an exciting, nerve-wracking, awesome not awesome time for e-commerce stores in particular. I love it. You guys know me. I love it. I love a bit of chaos, kind of thrive in things changing.
Chaos. Yeah.
I guess on a technical point for all this traffic coming, it's really important that you have all the pixels on your site, not just meta, right? It should be.
It's really important. You're tracking. I mean, you're tracking. Our tracking team that spend so much time. They're so diligent at making sure that all of our clients' tracking is up to speed. But yeah. Hopefully that was all checked prior to today, and that it's all working. But yeah, big time. Yeah. I had a friend of mine who's just set up her website, but she does do workshops, and I was just having a look at her website. I said, "It's no pixel." So messaged her just last week. Get a pixel on there, because if people are coming, you want to at least be tracking them. Have a chance of tracking them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other side to that, talking about pixels, is so many. I know all of our customers, pretty much all of them, are on Conversions API for the Meta platforms, and double checking that, like, that's something that we didn't really think about 2 years ago. Any suggestions there? Because obviously the combination of the pixel plus Conversions API, and if this is the first time you've heard of Conversions API, maybe we should explain it. But and you might be missing some of your tracking. But anyway, like, that is an area where you'd want to check as well, just to make sure that that's firing inside, the specific part of the ads manager, events manager,
Yeah.
So you see the match rate and everything else. Maybe we can go through that, because I think that's something that's relatively new and it's not top of mind.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, if you are in the ad accounts, going to Events Manager, and then you can, when you're in there, you can see, as Ralph said, the match rate, and making sure that actually, Events Manager. It's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that one up. But it is your friend during Black Friday. It's your friend all the time. But especially if things are not working, going in there and you can see.
Great point.
Yeah, you can see if things are dropping off. Yeah, like, oh, I'm not getting purchases. Oh, and then you see that the actual purchase event might not be firing. You can. That's a really good place to kind of cross check what you're seeing in the ad accounts.
So much so that what we were talking about before, like if you're seeing something not working, instead of freaking out and clicking it off,
yes,
like, which I would say 90% of people are going to be guilty of that. Seriously,
yeah.
like they freak out, turn it off. Don't. One of the first places you should go, and this is a great point, is Events Manager.
Yeah. And see if there's just anything obvious that is, a drop off. You can see it in the chart. Something's completely dropped off. It might, just the pixel's not firing, or checking your match rate. You can go in and check your match rate on if you've got the Conversions API set up.
Is there a delay with Events Manager, or is it pretty much real time?
It's a good question. I need to go in and have a look, and I'll hold that thought. I'll come back to you on that one.
I've seen it as just, I've seen it more or less in real time. It's pixel fires tend to not be in real time, at least in my experience. But yeah, you should be able to see the match rate and the activity sort of in the chart in the Events Manager. So you'll be able to check that. I mean, there is the 72-hour delay for iOS users, inside Meta. So there's always that, and that's a pixel fire. That's not, and if you don't know what we're talking about, I would highly encourage you to Google Conversions API at Meta. Maybe it's a little bit late right now because it's Friday, but hopefully you've already set that up. I know we didn't even mention that in the perpetual traffic episode that we did. But anyway, neither here nor there. The point is definitely check it to make sure it's firing.
Yeah. And just seeing if there's anything different as well. It's like sometimes it's that, like, the change, looking for that change.
Right. Yeah. Anything out of the way, like you should see it going like this really on the chart, like all the individual events if you're running more traffic. So, but that's a place to start. I think just like the basics of the basics. It's not even campaign management. It's checking Conversions API, your pixel, making sure your merchant account, like hopefully you've done that this past week. You've talked to your merchant account. You've talked to your credit card company that's spending the money on the ads. Maybe you've upped your daily budgets or your limits on your Meta accounts, your Facebook accounts, like you've done all that. So check all those places too. I remember calling American Express on a Black Friday and waiting on the phone for 45 minutes just to make sure that the ads continue to run and they were hitting my credit card. Like that's the kind of stuff that, I mean, you can't take today off. You really can't. If this is like your big time of the year. So think about all those things. Like think about what could go wrong and almost have, I know we gave a checklist away for this, have that sort of your checklist in place, but it's usually the big simple stuff that's wrong. It's usually not the ads.
It's a really good point on the budget, and this is something that is relevant today that you can be double checking. So for those that don't know, may or not know, all accounts will have an account spending limit that it will hit, and I can't even remember off the top of my head what it's. When you first open a new account, it's super low. Like, it's sometimes it's like $100 a day if it's a brand new ad account. And then the more that you spend with Meta, and when you're paying your invoices, that gets increased in the background. So it will get increased. So, and then it might be like a $10,000 a day limit. So, but for Black Friday, lots of people are spending way in excess of that, and they might not be aware that there's a spending limit on the account. So recommendation for anybody that's watching this, and if you suspect, or even if you don't know, tomorrow when you come online, sure you check the ad spend and, what was the daily ad spend for Black Friday. So tomorrow, Saturday, go in and check your accounts. And if your account has spent a round number, that's a flag that you've hit your account limit.
Super good
Because
point.
even if your budget for the day was 10,000, Meta can spend, I think, 25% more or less. It can spend on a daily basis, and then it makes it up over, especially if you've got it on a if you've got a set time and end, you've got it on a schedule, end and start date. It won't spend the exact amount on each day, and it rarely would spend an exact amount in an account. There would at least be some kind of discrepancy around those zeros. But if you go into your account and you see that it's maxed out at exactly 10,000, that's a big red flag that you have an account limit, that it's not got, and it won't spend a cent over that. If that happens to anybody, you go in tomorrow and you find that out, email support, get in touch with support. Support can usually get those account limits increased very quickly. You certainly on the same day, they can often do that, especially if you have a good standing, it's a long standing ad account, you've been paying your invoices. But yeah, that's definitely something to check tomorrow. That might save some people.
Yeah, for sure. We have probably some people listening.
It's happened to us.
Maybe I should check that. Oh, it's absolutely happened to us. The even number is a death knell, and I remember it happened exactly as you say, and it was a $10,000 a day limit, and I was like, wait a second, why is it stuck there? And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my god, it was
I know people have spent hours troubleshooting stuff around that, when it's like they've gone, why is this not spending? What is this ad not a good ad because it stopped spending? It's actually just something as simple as the ad account limit.
Is there a way to be more proactive in like looking at what your daily limit is?
No.
Fine.
And that's what's crazy, is you can't see what the limit is, because I believe they Meta treat that as confidential information, because I think it's all to do, they don't want, I can understand it from their point of view, and especially because it's with new accounts and accounts ramping up, they don't want people to take advantage of it. And I'd say it's more bad actors or people that are hacking into accounts and see how much they can spend. So they don't show you it, but you can message support and ask them, if you know how much you're going to spend. It's more a proactive thing prior, but it can be proactive during the Black Friday weekend. Just email support and say, I need to be spending X amount a day. Can you check that my account will sustain that, or can I get an increase to be able to spend that amount a day? And it usually, it's that's one of the easiest things that support will help with.
Yeah.
What other support would you expect to receive from Meta on Black Friday? The whole weekend, really?
It's quite limited. And, there's, I'm sure lots of people have seen in the news, there's been lots of layoffs at Meta. Now, we were assured that there wasn't many, if any, from support, as far as I'm aware. So they should still have the same support teams in place. But it's Meta support's not super fast all the time. So I would definitely use them if you think you do have a technical issue. I would say, technical issues. If there's something looks clearly wrong in the account, obviously account bans, ad bans. Hopefully nobody is experiencing that again. Because that's going to really hamper your ability to run. The best advice. Hopefully people have heard this before. Get set up early, get set up the week ahead, so make sure that all your ads are approved. So hopefully nobody's dealing with that. If you are dealing with that, I feel you. It's really challenging over this weekend. But make sure you're just going to support, and there's no guarantee that you're going to get things resolved, especially if it's at disapprovals, but making sure you are using those proper channels into support. If you do have a partner manager or an account manager, most of them I've found in previous years, they're not available over this weekend. And they would generally push you to support anyway. So to, the generic support. So that would be the best thing for you to do. I know sometimes people we have a partner manager, and a lot of our accounts have also the additional account manager. If they've told you they're going to be available, then and available for you to email them, use that, of course. But I'd say for the most part, support really is your first stop.
But there's the expectation to have so much volume coming in that you should be realistic with your turnaround
That's
times.
it. Yeah, definitely. And that's why, it's so important to have all of these campaigns set up, that week before, at least a few days before Black Friday's going to hit. So hopefully you all manage to do that.
Yeah.
Going back to decision making and source of truth a little bit, like if we're using like the checkout as our source of truth, but I'm running across multiple different social channels, like how do I make decisions?
Depends. Well, I would say, what do you use normally? What's the normal way that you're looking at the data? Obviously, it's going to be different. Some people are only still using Facebook because that's all they can afford, or that's all that they need. Some, we've got clients across multiple different third party attribution sites. If I would say, use what you would normally use. Don't change anything up from what you would normally do it. But because it's such a short time period, higher spend, I would say additionally, people you're trying to tap in more regularly to that source of truth, i.e. the Shopify store. I know for most of our team, they're not every day go, whoa, let's check Shopify and let's check this, or you're not checking multiple all the time. Because you want to decide what you want to use. You don't want to drive yourself batty with data and different platforms. But yeah, it's like, what's your backup? That it's more looking at it that way. Use what you would normally use, and then watch your backup so that you can check even closer what the results are in the moment.
Would you say that we shouldn't be really making like tiny changes to like TikTok versus Meta, and adjusting things and turning them off? Like just have a plan and stick to it unless things are going awry?
That's the overarching advice, I would say. Yes.
Okay.
Again, and it's making sure that I'm sure everybody that's watching this is on top of this. You know what your baseline, what you would expect to get. I think that's one of the big things about Black Friday, which is different to maybe a lot of other campaigns or a lot of other sales outside of this time period. It's like, okay, what do I expect to get? What kind of click-through rate or cost per click would I expect to get? And if you're wildly, they're like your frontline metrics. Obviously, you've got your KPI, which would be, I don't know, CPA or ROAS, whatever it is. But those in the platform metrics, you've got a hunch of your comfort level on those, and that's where your initial thoughts are going. Like if they seem wildly off, then you're thinking about, okay, they seem wildly off here, but what I would expect over here. Again, not making rash decisions. Day one of Black Friday, there's a lot more leeway to be figuring things out because you've still got 4 more days of sales. So yeah, today, just look at those expected metrics, taking note of things. You'll know by the end of the day if some things are working or not. I would wager, especially if you're spending a lot more money. You've got a good sense of like what's working, what's not, and then it's probably the next day that you're making more decisions. You're coming in with a clear head the next morning, not panicking when you first come online, and then just taking stock and not making too many changes if you can help it. And we see it. We do see people. They're switching off things. They're in there. They're switching on and off. That's like, reserve that kind of. I'm not saying that's the way you want to be working, but reserve that for Cyber Monday or the Sunday or the Monday, where you've already got a couple of days worth of data. You have a good sense of what's working, and then you're letting those winners run. Another big thing, which I know we put the guide together, which is awesome. Hopefully everybody got that and looked through it and took note of it, is let your winners run. A big
Mhm.
mistake that we've seen in the past is when people overcomplicate it. They've got like different ads for Friday and then different ads for the Saturday, saying 2 days to go, 1 day to go on the Sunday, and that's okay. But the big mistake people make is they switch off the stuff that's really working and replace it with brand new ads that, like, I don't think or 9 times out of 10, they never perform better than the ones that you started on the Friday. And even though they've got slightly wrong messaging, it's not 3 days to go, it's only 2 days now. They've already proven that they're working, and they just continue to work. So that's another piece of advice for people through the weekend. Don't get so caught up on the specific messaging in an ad and that it's not 100% accurate for that day. If it's working, give it the chance to keep on working through the next few days.
I think this is a great discussion because we've talked about what could go wrong, but oftentimes things really go right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's thrilling, like when it happens. And I think the cardinal rule of any campaign anywhere, it doesn't matter what the messaging is, even if it's off brand. I mean, we've had customers with typos in their, copywriting, heaven forbid, but which convert. I'm like, why would you shut that off? It's like, oh, we have a 5x ROAS and our CPA is half, but it's got a typo. Shut it off. Like, don't be stupid. Keep everything running that's working. Like, this is even if it's exactly like what you said, even if it's Saturday and it says sale ends in 3 days, which is like Tuesday. If it's working, keep it going. Like, people don't care. It's probably not your message. People don't read anyway.
No.
So don't like get caught up in that minutia. And I think that's like the abundance mindset as opposed to the scarcity mindset. Oh, I need to make it all. Like, we have so many customers that just think this way. It's like nauseating. It's like, if your business is growing, I hear this all the time. Like, hey, if you guys have a campaign that really converts, like, I'll back up the truck. Like, so rarely do people back up the truck because it's mindset. You know what I mean? But God forbid, if you've got a campaign that's working, ad set, an ad, who cares what it is? If it's working and the messaging is off, let it ride.
Absolutely.
You're not going to irreparably damage your reputation online, for Christ's sake.
No.
Like, this is a money grab at this point.
Yeah. How
long am I allowed to forget to turn off my Black Friday ads?
That's a really good question as well.
Great question.
It depends how on top of it you are on the website and where you're running traffic to. So one of our clients in the past, the landing page would switch, or the landing page was no longer active after Black Friday. So then you're literally just wasting money because you're running traffic to something that they can't actually purchase on or take the action on. But if it's running to pages that are just going to stay the same, we've had it happen. People have either forgotten to turn it off, or sometimes there's glitches and with Meta, and it switched back on again, or whatever. But they've run, and quite often, they continue to perform. I mean, it's not a great look if you're managing someone else, a client's ads, and especially if there's a high budget and they don't want to continue spending that high budget.
Right.
All of those factors.
All things being considered,
yeah, but it's people do it. It's people. We're humans. Everybody's human. People sometimes leave things on for an extra day, and if the offer's still that active, or at least the offer itself might not be active, but they're going to the website and they still buy. Winning. Something just on the brand, like, don't switch things off if they're in it, or you notice there's like a wrong color on the ad, but it's working. I think did you send me this tweet as well? I saw a tweet this week where someone was saying, if you're spending less than, is it 250K a month on ads, don't worry about your brand. Like, worrying about how your brand looks in paid traffic is defunct. You're just wasting headspace thinking about it. And I love that. I can't remember who tweeted that out, but yeah. So true.
Who knows if it's if it's accurate, but it's like
It
it's the
kind of makes
mindset of
sense.
thinking. It totally
Yeah.
makes sense. If you bring
Yeah.
that mindset to your advertising, like right now, and Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you've got 3 days left. Like bringing that type of mindset to it,
Yeah.
I think that's everything, because people get in their own way so often, unfortunately.
Totally, people are there for the offer, but saying that, the opportunity then is what do your back end systems look like? That's when they start remembering the brand. Once they've bought the product and they got the really good price, like yay, and then they get a great customer experience, or they get a really nice email, and they feel confident that they're actually going to get their thing delivered. I was having a chat with a friend of mine yesterday, and we're talking onboarding. Actually, we were having a discussion about onboarding clients and the process and how we do that. And she told me she'd bought a course, for $4,000, and she didn't get an email reply. And we're talking about onboarding, and when, especially as an agency, when clients, when we're working with clients and they pay us for the service, and that instant buyer's remorse that kicks in, and there was no email. There was no email for a few hours, and then it was like panic. What have I done? I've just put $4,000 into this online course, and have I just wasted it? And people are thinking exactly the same thing. I don't know. The first thing I do when I buy something online, I go and check my emails to see if I got an email through confirming that the sale was made. So if your back end systems aren't set up, that's your opportunity for you to show your brand. Don't worry about it in the ads and you don't want it to be completely off brand, but even then, people are there for the offer.
Far less important by an order of magnitude than people say.
Yes.
Like it is, and I know, we talk about this internally at Tier 11. It's like, always use the brand style guide. Like, I know we're not always going to use it, but at least I'm constantly reminding people to make sure that they use it. Yes. In actuality, does it really matter? Does it help with conversions? Probably not. But, worry about brand later, especially when it comes to Cyber Monday and Black Friday. It's like, once again, this is a mindset thing. This is like, you're in a land grab here. Yep. You're trying to grab as much as you possibly can. And even if it's not returning you from a net operating income perspective on the day of the sale, or even through Monday, you got to think longer term. You're planning for your 2023 here, depending on what type of product that you have.
Yeah.
And, if you're a one and done, and you're spending money on, you're a one product wonder, like, I don't know as if you necessarily have a business per se, you have an offer. So like, that's a harder thing to get your head around. Like, if I have one thing I'm going to sell them and I'm in the red on it and I will never sell them ever again, like, you don't have a business. I'm sorry. Yeah. So maybe Black Friday, Cyber Monday isn't for you. And if that's the case and you're watching this, hopefully you've got this set up where you have a cross-sell opportunity or an upsell opportunity, at a later date. So I think just thinking about businesses that way, I think, is super important. But there's a mindset shift that I think that has to happen.
Yeah, totally. That's it. If an ad that is off-brand is performing, that's a signal that that's a clear ad that works, and you should take that information in to iterate on and potentially adjust your brand.
That's a really great point, Tom.
Yeah, I tell this to business owners all the time. We just came off this world tour. It was only in the U.S. Like, there was 10 customers. It wasn't like me and Mike are like going across the seas, world tour. But it was like,
reminds me of the U.S. World Series.
Right. Makes no sense. But it's reminding business owners that a converting offer is a gift. It happens so rarely. It's like to get to $1 million in revenue as a business, it is less than 5% of businesses get to that point. To 10 million, I believe it's like 2%, 1%. Like, to have a business that actually you have an offer that the world wants, it is an absolute gift. Do not screw with it. Like, make it better, improve, do version 2.0, 2.1, like 3.0, like all that. But like, don't screw with your offer, because that is an absolute gift from the gods. And many people don't ever get to that point, like a converting offer. So as it relates to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, it's like, think about how lucky you are to be able to sell into that market where your offer actually does convert. The question is do you have more to sell them? Is it, the type of offer where, all right, they're going to use it up in the next 30 days? Like, we met with a women's hair care company in this world tour, like, every 30 days, like, they are absolutely, like, it is a land grab right now for their products, because they know the lifetime value, like, knowing your numbers, knowing your business, but also keeping in mind, like, if you do have an offer that converts, it really is a rare thing. Because we talk to a lot of businesses every single week, Angela, that, don't have an offer. Like, they think they want an agency. What they really need is to test out to make sure that the offer actually is something that the world wants, first off. And that's a very rare thing. And it's, it's something that I think business owners tend to lose sight of.
Yeah, definitely.
How about managing clients? How should we be talking to our clients today and throughout the weekend?
Yeah, it depends on the client. If they want, daily updates, some clients will be in there daily. That's not ideal. But if they are spending a lot more, you got to be mindful that they are going to be more on edge if you're spending a lot more than you normally do. So what I would always like to do is, again, depending on what the conversations have been prior, but just every day, just a quick check-in, just letting them know that you're on top of it. How's it looking in general? You want to avoid going into the weeds as much as possible. It is a holiday weekend in the US, so we ought to have to be mindful of our team and making sure they get the opportunity to enjoy and not be completely in the weeds. But it is what it is. If you work in paid media, you just have to accept that this is a massive weekend, and it's kind of part of the job that we do, that we're diligent in looking at things. But yeah, just checking in once a day should be ideal, and just letting them know that, hey, I'm on top of things. This is what's happening today. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but trying not to go too far down with clients. But just be mindful, it's tough for them as well, because it's, especially if they haven't run a Black Friday sale before, it's nerve-wracking when you're putting a lot more money on per day on ads. So yeah, like, it's but we've got a great team that they're and letting them know that we're around. Certainly, I know I'll make sure that I'll be checking in on Slack more over next weekend, just being there to kind of support the team and make sure that they know that there will be people there that they can ping.
Yeah, worst thing you could do is go completely dark and let them wonder what's going on.
Yeah, don't be that media buyer who's just like, the clients there like, what is happening? Yeah, it's really keeping them in check, because and understanding it is a stressful time for them as well. They want to do well. Everybody wants to do well on their Black Friday sales.
I think proactive check-ins are the key.
Yeah,
like knowing that you're just there. And I even see this sometimes, and I don't think we're the greatest at this as an agency, is that, if you're even working on a project, like, tell them, like, where you're at. Even if you're not 100% done, it's okay. Like, that's the thing that customers tend to really get concerned with, is like, all right, I haven't heard anything. Like, no news is bad news for in this particular case. And no news is bad news is compressed into a 4-day period, more so than it is just in a normal, weekend or month.
Yeah.
So, being proactive in those updates, I think, is a surefire way to allay a lot of those fears.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So coming out of this weekend, like, what are my next steps? How do I debrief, and what do I do with this giant load of data I have, both stored within the Pixel and on my own CRM?
Yeah. So making sure that you do a debrief on your reports. Quite often during this weekend, people are updating daily spreadsheets anyway with data, but making sure that you want to, by the end of this next week, have your Black Friday report, discussed it with your client. If you're running a client's ads, if you're running ads for yourself, making sure you look at that data, you summarize it, you take what you need from it in terms of what worked, because there might be, even though it might not be relevant because it's really about the offer during Black Friday, but if there were certain creative that you could still use in December's ads, or that start seeing what worked, make other versions of those, see if they work without an offer. I mean, you can get some really good tests coming up where you can compare, okay, well, this creative worked. I hadn't used this type of creative before. I used it for Black Friday. It really worked. Was it just the offer? Was it literally just the offer that made it work? Or can I make something like this work in my day-to-day? So there'll be all of those learnings you'll be taking. You'll be making sure that you're following up with anybody, that if you've got email addresses, making sure you if you didn't have an email autoresponder series in place, get something like that put in so that you can start nurturing them for Christmas. So if you haven't got that set up, that's something that you could be working on, either as a business owner, or if you have a team that if you have an agency that does that for you. Making sure that you are hitting your retargeting audiences as much as possible. So depending on, like Ralph had mentioned, video viewers, if you were running video ads, and I would say it's always good to have video ads running over Black Friday. So that's maybe something as well, if someone doesn't have any, even though they may not be your top performing ads, you're still going to be collecting video views. So it's on platform, you're not losing the signal. So if you don't have any video ads, you might want to consider even just, you can just create them in the Facebook. You don't need to go and create videos, but from some of your images, just make them into GIFs, or make them into some kind of short video ad in the Facebook platform. That's fairly simple to do. And then at least you've got on-platform video views. And then it's about how can you continue to talk to these people through December up until whatever your shipping date is. I mean, you're not going to just stop ads just after your shipping date, but most people are going to pull back budgets a lot. You're like, I'm done for the year. But a lot of people are going to pull back budgets after that last shipping date. And or you might want to change the type of ad. You might, maybe for a week or 2 week period, you're thinking about, okay, I'm going to be running mainly awareness right now, and then I'm going to ramp it back up again, if you've got a Boxing Day sale or post-Christmas sale. So it's thinking about, like, again, being mindful of the different periods through December up to the last shipping date, from the shipping date to Christmas, which is going to be a down period for some people if they literally can't get your product, and then Boxing Day onward. And depending on what niche you're in, if you're in the fitness niche, the US way, if you're in fitness niche, like after Christmas, like boom, making sure that's the time, that's prime time for fitness. People feel guilty about all the food they ate on Christmas Day, and they start thinking about New Year resolutions and getting fit. So yeah, it's making the plan. There's probably, like, I would say, that 6 week period after Black Friday. There's very distinct periods within that, and making sure that you've got a plan for what you're running on your paid traffic and what you're offering and how you're nurturing people. It's a funny time of the year.
I love the advice of taking some of the creative that might have worked on Black Friday and using that in your just business as usual ads as well, because it might not just be the offer. It might be a new way in which to approach the same old market, especially if they're cold traffic ads. I think that's a solid piece of advice there, which people forget about. Like, oh, it's Black Friday, I'm going to compartmentalize that. I'm not going to use that. I'll use that next year. Well, don't be so fast.
Yeah, there might be something in there.
Finding a creative that works is another gift. Not only an offer that works, but like finding an ad that really does convert. So look at that, look at your data and analyze that, because you could certainly use it for your year-round ads.
Yeah. And not beating yourself up if it wasn't as good as you anticipated. I think that's going to be a big thing. If you're running ads, if you're running ads for a client, if you're running your own ads, just like analyzing and figuring out why it didn't go how you planned, and not beating yourself up for it failing or whatever. There's many reasons that things are not going to work. Like we said at the beginning, there's macro level things going on in the world that we have no control over, and this year is going to be different from previous years, and it's trying to factor in, you know, what did you have control over, where are the learnings there over the things that you had control over, and how you ran it, and then you know, making decisions and moving forward. Because you know, it's mindset is the whole thing. The mindset, the having the nerve to allow things to spend, and then on the other side, not beating yourself up. The life of working in paid traffic, can be a roller coaster. It's how can you try and maintain more of an even ground with it?
Yeah, well, we're kind of at the end here, wrapping up. Like everything, any final thoughts or tips for people right now as they're not touching the ads managers?
Stop that! Yeah, when you're in there. Just like, don't panic. I think that the big, try not to panic, and try not to make any decision on your paid traffic from a panic state. Like 30 minutes in the majority of cases is not going to destroy performance or destroy your bank balance for most people. And if you can just wait out, you know, take that step back for 30 minutes, consciously say, you know, post it on your computer, take 30 minutes or something like that, and just take that step back and try and analyze as calmly as you can, and then make a decision as to what you're going to do. I am going to switch this off. I'm not going to switch this off. I'm going to leave it another 2 hours. I'm not going to come and look, you know, it's almost really setting boundaries with yourself, and it's setting boundaries in the moment that will allow you to just be like, okay, I'm going to walk away for 2 hours and then I'm going to come back, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to sit here. I'm actually going to sit here for 2 hours and I'm going to rebuild something. You know, both options work, but it's, if you make decisions in the heat of the moment when you're in panic mode, that won't work.
Yeah, I think that's sage advice. And also the cardinal sin is don't turn anything off that's working. Keep that on. And the stuff that is working, scale it up too. I mean, we recommend 20%, 25% per day. Overall, you might go more aggressive in some cases. It sort of depends, but you're going to have stuff that really does work like fire. And once you figured out the ones that didn't work, you know, you've got an upside potential, maybe above the budget. The numbers are coming in. Don't shut off anything that's working great, but I mean, consider scaling up to budgets as well.
That's actually a really good point. I know it's right at the end there, but which, you know, if something is working, be bold at putting more budget on it, for sure. Like, it can also be one of the worst things you do if you don't scale when things are really working, you know, and being too timid with those budget increases. Yeah, but doing that and then obviously being aware of it. But yeah, totally scale if it's working.
Yeah, healthy paranoia mixed with being bold. Like, this is why this is so it's a challenging time right now. But it's kind of thinking on two different sides of your brain here a bit. But I mean, I think cooler heads do prevail in Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'd remind you that even all this is still an investment in the long-term brand awareness that you're putting out there, and it can build off that in the future, even if this was not necessarily as successful as you wanted it to be. You are still getting in front of more eyeballs and expanding your brand to people who wouldn't normally see you. Well, Ange and Ralph, thank you very much for joining us today, and for everybody out there slogging away on Black Friday. Thank you for tuning in and listening to us. We did mention a checklist a couple times. You can go grab that checklist at tier11.com/BFCM and see if there's anything helpful for you for today or throughout the rest of the weekend there. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on the Customer Acquisition Show. And I enjoy these a lot, and hopefully everybody else does as well. So thank you very much, Ange and Ralph.
Welcome. Pleasure being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck.
Your sales are going well.